welcome to this episode of the Connecting You podcast, where we do a little bit of a different flavor. We're going to be highlighting businesses and events and things around Hampton Roads. And today's guest, I'm very honored to have Dr. Marco Accordo of Accordo Chiropractic in Chesapeake, Virginia. But Dr. Marco, first and foremost, what led you to chiropractic?
Ooh, that is a good question. I haven't really talked about how chiropractic chose me in a long time. I was in 10th grade. I went to a really intense high school. It was an all-boys Jesuit high school. And it was really kind of incumbent upon us to kind of get our lives kind of figured out really early, which I know it sounds crazy to start thinking about what you want to do for the rest of your life when you're in early high school, but that was just kind of the environment we were in, you know? And I always loved science. I always loved physics. I loved biology. And I really loved the human body. And I really thought that I wanted to help people by becoming a doctor. And I was sitting with my guidance counselor. And I don't know why he mentioned it, right? But he's just hearing everything that I loved, what I kind of wanted to do. And he was like, have you ever thought about becoming a chiropractor? And as soon as he asked me that question, the light bulb just went off, because I had been adjusted maybe 3 times up until that point. And I just kind of grew up in a household where chiropractic was very highly valued. My great-grandmother got adjusted before chiropractic was cool. And she always swore up and down that Dr. Quattro, who was the chiropractor in Rochester, New York, totally cured her of sciatica. And then my father had a story where he was at Stony Brook, which is this really cool kind of river, canyon, park type of thing with running water. Well, there was this natural slide that they had found, and they were all going down. And he went down and dislocated his shoulder. And the first place they went was Dr. Quattro. And so they just swore up and down about it. And that was in a time my great-grandmother's generation. That was in a time where chiropractic was very much kind of thought of as kind of taboo, quackery, so to speak. It's a long story as to why that's a thing, and we can get into it if you want. But they saw it as valuable because of what it did for them in their lives and their quality of life. And so in my head, chiropractic was valuable. And then the few times I had gotten adjusted, I felt great. It was awesome. And, I'm in the office and he's got all the nervous system charts and all the anatomy charts and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, wow, I could be in a profession where somebody brings me some issue and I know exactly how to adjust that person. And then all of a sudden their life is better. And I was just yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I had a background in wrestling. I had started wrestling when I was in 5th grade and then just had done it all throughout middle school and high school. So physical art was always a huge part of my life. And I just felt just one of those things where you ever have this thing where you just kind of know you're going to be good at something? Yeah. And I just knew that I was going to be good at it. I just knew because it was physical art. And then it was that perfect combination of this physical art, that I could master over time, plus also the science of how the human body works, and it all just felt like it was going to kind of come together. I would say the biggest surprise for me about chiropractic was the philosophy. Because chiropractic is kind of a 3-part thing, right? You've got the art of actually delivering the care. You've got the science, and that's the big brain part of connecting all the dots and how the body works. But then there's also this beautiful philosophy of chiropractic. And the philosophy part of it is what surprised me the most. I'd always grown up in a very medical household. And what I mean by that is like if we had a sore throat, my mom brought us to the pediatrician.
Gotcha.
And as a kid, I struggled with really bad asthma. Mm-hmm. So I was in the doctor's office a lot.
Wow.
Right? Wow. But then getting to chiropractic school and starting to listen to the founders of chiropractic and their philosophy and the developers of chiropractic, what I found is that it really just rang true with like, reality.
Yeah.
And how and what I believe. And the philosophy is this, the human body is designed to heal. It's designed to heal.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, all you need to do to help somebody heal is to find out what's blocking that healing process and remove it. Mm-hmm. And then the body does what it can do. And at the end of the day, that's the truth.
Yeah, very much so.
And we can take it to any kind of an extreme example, right? Let's say somebody's trying to cut down a tree with a chainsaw, right? And they accidentally cut their arm off. Now, modern medicine is pretty crazy these days. And there have been successful reattachment of limbs, right? So in that situation, what's the obstruction to healing? Well, ultimately the obstruction to healing is the fact that there's distance between those body tissues, so they can't heal. The surgeon, as skilled as that surgeon is, obviously it takes an incredible amount of art and science in that application as well, simply reattaches the pieces. Now, obviously, it's a complicated procedure, right? But it's the idea of it is simple. You reattach the pieces. You remove the obstruction to the body's natural healing process. There's nothing that surgeon can do to make that body heal.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the power that made the body heals the body.
Exactly.
It's the only way it works.
Exactly.
So even though I was drawn to chiropractic from the science aspect of it and the art aspect of it, why I love it more to this day is because of that philosophical shift in understanding how health and healing really is built and how it happens.
Cool. Now, I guess I've been coming 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, 5.
And 5, yeah.
5 years. Yep.
5 years. And I've noticed that there's been a definite change in, now I don't do everything like I'm supposed to. Sometimes you forget you need to do this or do that. But my quality of life is better. And one of the things I think people don't understand is the role that they play in this process. And I know this is probably a sticking point for you or a stickler when it comes to, you adjust us. You tell us, okay, whether it's an apparatus you need to give us for our necks or whatever, I need you to do these things as I'm doing your adjustments. That's where we lack at. We don't do those things.
Yeah.
And then we look at you and say, why isn't it working? So how do you navigate that, when you know that's what you're dealing with? Or how do you encourage the people to just really dig into what you're showing us to do?
The root word of doctor means teacher. Mm-hmm. Comes from Latin. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, you're not paying me to deliver adjustments. You're paying me to teach you. And now, when you were saying how I deliver recommendations, right? You said, I need you to do these things. Well, the reality is the way that I navigate that is I don't need you to do those things.
Right.
You need you to do those things.
Right,
it's a very big difference. Like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, we all slip out of our good habits. We all enjoy some vices from time to time. We all engage in bad posture from time to time.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But the way I look at it is I'm a coach and a teacher. Okay. And so I really try to teach and coach in the way that I most respond to coaching and teaching.
Okay.
I've always been somebody that really thrives on positive reinforcement. And I've always been somebody that really thrives on just a no bull approach to like, this is what you got to do. So it's kind of like I really try to kind of walk this fine line between telling you like it is, but at the same time, it's not my stuff. So emotionally and mentally, I try to detach myself from the outcome in such a way that it's healthy. Because at the end of the day, even if we're talking about your specific care, Joe Nathan, I can't want it for you more than you want it for yourself. As a young doctor, I really struggled with that.
Right.
I would say like going into business for yourself is insanity. And you would probably agree.
There were times,
right?
There were times, but you make adjustments and life choices and changes that help you through that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. There were
general,
days where you're just like, well, what was I thinking?
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah.
Right. But then to go into business for yourself and then into healthcare is like double, triple insanity.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not like I can heal you, period. I can teach you, I can coach you, I can deliver adjustments and help reconnect your nervous system. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like your life habits are your own.
Right.
And then, like I said, as a young doctor, I really struggled with that because like I really wanted so much for everybody I was working with. And when somebody didn't do what I asked them to do, I'm just like, I really wrestled with that.
Right.
So it just took like years of, helping thousands of people to really kind of like get into my groove. And some people are going to really want what we have to offer here. Right. Some people are going to want that alignment. They're going to want that education. They're going to want that coaching. And they're what the industry calls, and it's not just chiropractic, it's any industry that helps other people with lifestyle like lifestyle type stuff, whether it's bodybuilding, fitness coaching, nutrition, like, right. You name it. It's called a frustrated worker. That frustrated worker is somebody who's doing stuff, but they're getting frustrated because the stuff's not working. And all they need is a direction. Right. And so once they get that direction, once they know the stuff they got to work on, then it's like smooth sailing. Right. Because they get to take all that energy and apply it to areas where they're actually going to get results. Right. That's like my favorite kind of person to work with. Right. And that kind of person is going to take the coaching and the teaching and just run with it, and take all the resources we have available completely at my own expense. Like it doesn't cost anything, right, to find the videos, to like, exactly, all that stuff.
Exactly.
And just take that and just start implementing things.
Right. And
you see this beautiful snowball effect of like, okay, they just start one small thing. All right, well, let's start standing more. Next thing you know, wow, my low back is way more resilient, right? Right. And we start getting into some core strength and stability, and you're like, wow, I can take these 6-hour drives now, mm-hmm, whereas before I couldn't be in the car for more than 20 minutes, right, and everything started, hurting and talking to me. Right. You start coaching the person who's going through serious headaches and migraines. Pick your phone up, and then you start seeing the effects, and you start seeing the results of these small, yeah, ergonomic and lifestyle changes. Yeah. Yes. And then magic starts to happen. So yeah, I try to coach the way that I want to be coached. I try to teach the way that, right, I want to be taught. And I'm the type of person too that like I really thrive on having, somebody in my life that I'm going to go to that's just going to remind me of the stuff that I know that I got to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we fall off of those habits, just like you said. And for the type of person that needs that, because I'm that person too. Right. 90% of the time, the education that I'm giving is education I've already given. Right. That was another, I think, subtle nuance is people don't need to be educated as much as they just need to be reminded. Right. And so walking through the doors in the morning, remembering that, like, okay, today I'm going to tell, 50 people the exact same thing that I've already told them. And you want to know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it with a happy heart.
Yeah. Your staff. Talk to me about your staff, man. You've got a great group.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah.
The reason for that is my wife, Courtney.
Uh-huh.
Pretty simple. She does all the hiring.
Okay.
So Courtney is an amazing reader of people. She just has this way to know if somebody's going to be a quality person in our life or somebody's going to not be.
Right.
And so it's really important, when you have a healthcare facility, in my humble opinion, you need people that are mission driven. And the mission is huge, right? Let's help as many people as we possibly can. I mean, we save lives in here.
Right.
You got to find somebody who's driven to do that. And the other part of that is once you have the right people on board and the right people on the on the team, excuse me, we train like maniacs.
Right.
I took my wrestling background and my military background, and you just got to remember, like, you never will fall back on your best performance, right? You're going to fall back to your worst performance. So we train like maniacs. Every week we have a team training. Every week we have accountability meetings, and just really train such that on our worst day, everybody who walks through that door is going to get the best care possible. But I just got a great group of people.
You do. Schooling, how does that differ from your average medical doctor? Or how does that work?
There's a lot of differences. The first difference is a chronological one. Chiropractic school takes 5 academic years of education and smashes it into 3 1/3 years chronologically. So the time off was very minimal. It was like a couple of weeks between trimesters in my case. The other difference is like really fundamental to how a chiropractor is going to look at a human being versus how a medical doctor is going to really, learn how to treat disease. And a chiropractor has way more hours of education in anatomy, physiology, neurology, and nutrition, whereas a medical doctor has a lot more hours in pharmacology because they have to memorize all these drugs and drug interactions and all that stuff so they can prescribe. So the difference is going to be that if you go to a chiropractor, that person just has way more formal education on how the human body actually works. And a medical doctor has way more education on how to prescribe drugs. And that's just the cold, hard truth.
How much more growth do you anticipate?
I want to double and ultimately triple the practice.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that our growth is always mission centric.
Right.
The reality is that there are a lot of people in Chesapeake. And the reality is that there are a lot of people in Chesapeake who really need what we have to offer. And I just want to be able to create an environment where we can deliver care to those people that really need it.
I like your passion, and it's genuine. But the reason that I wanted to do this is really people need to know about Accordo Chiropractic, but even more people need to know about chiropractic anyway.
It's something that's really important to me, and it's for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I spend a lot of time here.
Yes.
Our team spends a lot of time here. And I want to be excited to go to practice. I don't want to be dreading it because it's work. And I think the beautiful thing about being a business owner is that you get to create your culture. You get to create your, in my sense, practice culture, but for any other business, you get to create your corporate culture. Like, what do you want to be doing all day? Do you want to have fun? Do you want to, have relationships, right? Like real ones, right?
Yeah.
Or do you just want to be like a robot going through the motions, waiting to get home? And when you live your life that way, you get to enjoy your few minutes at the end of the day at home, right? Maybe it's a few hours, right? You get a few hours each day, and then you get Saturday and Sunday. I didn't want to live my life like that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live my life all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really focus on our community here
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that I try to foster good quality relationships.
Sure.
And I think part of it is like that training aspect, right? We're not allowed to have small talk here. You can go to Kroger and have small talk with the cashier. It doesn't fill your life with anything.
Right.
So here, we're allowed to have small talk, and I call it the 30-second rule for 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
And then you have to help guide that conversation into a way that's going to help better somebody's life by talking about health. Health is a word that means the measurement of your quality of life, period. That's what this practice is about. It's about enhancing everyone who's a part of it, enhancing their quality of life. So we really try to dig deep with the conversations that we have so that we're asking the right questions. We're stimulating the right kind of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
We're inspiring that change. It's going to help somebody enjoy that higher quality of life. But the reason why everybody experiences overall quality of life improvement when they start getting adjusted is because a chiropractor is really a nervous system doctor. Mm-hmm. We're nerve doctors, right? And your central nervous system controls everything. And even though an adjustment moves bones and joints, what it does physiologically, in addition to a lot of other things, but what it does is it removes interference from the nervous system.
Okay.
And when your nervous system is free of interference, because your nervous system controls everything, everything starts working better. And then we also talked about drugs, and we also talked about the money side of business. For anybody watching, if you want to make a ton of money, do not become a chiropractor. You want to make a ton of money, go become an obstetrician or an orthopedic surgeon or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's never what it's about here.
Right.
And I think the big key difference is that a very sick person is very profitable. But when we're talking about the community here at Accordo Chiropractic, most of our patients are wellness and maintenance patients. So do I love complicated neurological cases? Absolutely. Like when somebody comes in and they are just in a really bad way, I am pumped up.
You love a challenge.
Sure. Absolutely. Sure. And I love really helping people. Yeah. And I love helping people in those situations because they really freaking need it. But the best part about chiropractic is that there's this whole wellness component, right? And that gets us into a position where you don't have to be here. Right. You want to be here.
Right.
That's a huge difference, right? You're not getting chiropractic care on a weekly basis for the past 4 years, right? Because you're afraid, right? We're not using fear to manipulate you into taking these drugs or getting these surgeries or doing all these interventions. You're here because you want to experience all of the benefits that you've worked so hard to experience. You want to stay in that process of being well. You want to stay in that process of being healthy and fit long term, right? I'm newly 40.
Okay.
So I'm an adult now. And what I find is that people oftentimes think that the strategies that they used to feel good in their teens and in their 20s are going to work again in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And as an athlete, that's, I'm sure, exactly where you were at, because that's exactly where I was at.
Sure.
But the reality is that our bodies change.
Yes.
And different seasons require different solutions and different habits. And so a lot of the educational process is to help people understand, like, listen, the stuff that you thought worked when you were a teenager and the stuff that you thought worked in your early 20s, it's not going to work now. Your body's different. And those decisions that you made back then, because you weren't feeling what was going on, right? Because when we're young, we're indestructible.
Yeah.
All of those decisions led you to be right here, right now.
Right.
And ultimately, what we have is a collection of ignorance out there. And we don't really have a good cultural understanding of what it takes to be healthy in the United States of America.
Right.
So that shift, that paradigm shift of what it actually takes to be healthy, I think is so crucial for people to understand. And I think that's what we need.
Yeah. Speaking of, the care, and when we were younger, we did crazy things. How early is too early to begin chiropractic care, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, there really isn't.
Okay. So I guess you can start with even infants.
Well, I like to think that we start before birth even happens.
Okay.
The ideal situation is that mom and dad are getting adjusted such that when they conceive, it's the best possible conception, and that mom's going to get adjusted during pregnancy such that pregnancy and birth go as well as they possibly can.
Right.
And then baby gets checked after birth.
Okay.
So there's an incredible amount of research out there that shows that, a mother's mental, emotional state, physical health during pregnancy is so crucial for the development of a baby and a child. There is a huge body of evidence also that shows how beneficial getting adjusted during pregnancy is. Okay. And to not get into the weeds of, how or why that happens, long story short, when mom's healthy, baby's healthy.
Right.
And we have just this amazing collection of incredible birth stories from moms that get adjusted throughout their pregnancy here. I love when a mom comes in and she's had 2 or 3 pregnancies before chiropractic care and then starts getting adjusted for like baby 2, 3, or 4 or whatever. And just the difference in the amount of comfort, ease, and birth under chiropractic care is just huge. It's one of my favorite types of patients to work with, and expecting mama, to play a small role in the miracle of life here is magical, and I'm always honored. But yeah, chiropractic really starts before baby's even born. Now, kids have almost no idea what's going on with their bodies. It's all brand new. They're born, they've got this body, they think about it, they walk around, they move. So much of our culture is set up for children to really fail in the health arena. And it touches every aspect of somebody's health. There's that physical exercise component of it, and kids now are more sedentary than they've ever been.
Yeah. Yes.
They're not getting sunlight the way that they need to.
Right.
The nutrition in our country is abysmal. We have overfed and undernourished humans in the United States at alarming rates. And on top of that, our mental emotional health for kids right now is, I think, in dire straits. And the part of the problem is like our technology and our lifestyle changes faster than our ability to parent. So hear me out on this one. When my grandmother was a kid, right, she didn't have electricity in her village in Italy. And they heated their house with a fireplace. And at night, before they would get into bed, they literally used a bed warmer and then jumped in bed. Mm-hmm. Right? They slaughtered all their animals. They grew all their food. Right. That's how my grandmother grew up. Okay? Then she came to this country, and my mom grew up with a telephone. Okay. All right? How does my grandmother know how to parent a kid through adolescence who has access to technology that she's never had access to? Right. Whereas like way back in the day, right, life was more cyclical, that circle of life, right? So like in like the 1700s or even before that, like a parent knew what the kid was going to get into and could really guide them through each stage of life. Right. Well, then I was born, and where my mom had a telephone and saw the first color TV, right, I had morning cartoons. And then the internet came around. How does my mom or my dad, right, help guide me through adolescence with the advent of the internet? They have no freaking clue, right? I guarantee you that I watched more TV than my parents did.
Right.
I know I watched more TV than my father did because they watched about 20 minutes of TV on the weekends. That was it, because it was like brand new.
Right.
So then now we got our generation, right? And back when the internet first came about, I talked to my friends on AOL Instant Messenger.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, now we've got a smartphone with Instant Messenger right on your phone.
Yeah.
My kids have an iPad, right? And they can cruise YouTube if I'm not a diligent parent. So how do I now parent my children with the advent of things like AI and social media at such a young age? So like parents are really at a huge disadvantage in their ability to anticipate what their children are going to need. And it's honestly, in my humble opinion, it's spiraling out of control because we don't know the ramifications of how this is going to affect our kids. Right. And I think conservative parents, and I'm not talking like politically conservative, I'm talking like conservative in what you're going to allow your kid to have access to. I think they see this problem.
Yes.
Whether or not they can articulate it in the way that I just did, that's kind of like my own discovery thought process on why it's so challenging to just be a parent and why kids are struggling right now.
Right.
But long story short, where we wrap this up into a child's health, right? I think that kids nowadays are growing up with environmental factors that are predisposing them to be sicker than ever. And that is a fact.
Right.
We've got more kids in this country with chronic disease than we've ever had, ever in the history of our country. Right? And so I think that taking a very diligent approach to your child's health is something that requires a lot of discipline. It requires making hard decisions for your own lifestyle, how much work it's going to take on your part.
Sure.
And I think it really requires having some professional help and guidance along the way.
Sure.
Like we didn't know when I was growing up that the correct amount of natural sunlight exposure to a kid's eye stops the eye from growing at around the age of 6 to 7 and prevents astigmatism. Now we do.
Right.
Right? We didn't know the importance of like sunlight exposure on the skin. We didn't know how important it was to be physically active for so many hours a day, especially for young boys. Right. So we stick these kids in a classroom and strap them to a desk for 6 to 10 hours a day, and we expect them to be able to function in that kind of environment, but that's just not how we're designed. Right. So yeah, for our next generation, like, we got to get focused on our health. And we don't have a cultural understanding of what it takes to create a healthy human in our country.
Right. Dr. Marco, if you would, for people that are going to see this and they're going to say, you know what, maybe I need to look into this. Tell the people how to get in touch with you and Accordo Chiropractic and just the basics of how to begin the process.
Before anybody reaches out to me, they got to ask themselves a couple of hard questions.
Okay.
And hard question number one is, are you willing to dedicate yourself to a healing process? Health is not something you can buy.
Right.
It's not something you can do at a high intensity for a short amount of time and expect to keep results. Right. Health is something that is built through habits. Health is something that is built through our choices on a daily basis. So for the person watching this that feels like they're ready for that kind of care, the way to get a hold of me is super simple. You can just follow me on Instagram. It's at Accordo Chiropractic, and just DM me. Just reach out. I will personally answer.
And he does.
Yeah. You can just pop on our website, accordochiropractic.com. We've got an easy link to schedule an appointment. You can give us a call. You can even shoot us a text on that practice number. We're really easy to get a hold of. A lot of times, that first decision, I think, is the hardest one.
Sure.
To like literally do it.
Sure.
And just get out of whatever rut or habits you're in and just make a change.
Yes. And that is definitely what it takes. And I will tell you this, it's been so beneficial to me that I'm just glad I did it and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, me too.
Dr. Marco, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on our podcast. And again, any questions, you know how to get in touch with a chiropractic. Leave a message or, hit us up here and we'll make sure we make the connection. Thank you for joining us today again, Dr. Marco. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you.